So you've been through the case study quickly. Don's gone to the football, watched the Broncos play with a crowd of 40,000, been drinking heavily. On the way home, he jumps onto a stair in one of the stairwells at the stadium that is wet from a beer that has been spilled, slips and badly fractures his back. The stadium manager says that during the game there's no cleaning up of spills. There are also no signs warning of the possible slippery surface. Don, as a lawyer, earns $500,000 a year. It has to be 6 months of work. He also loses some movement in the left side of his body and can no longer play basketball, do any gardening, two of his favourite hobbies. He has medical bills, total $33, $256 and 1 cent. Explain whether you think the stadium is negligent, and if they are, what do you think an appropriate level of damages would be? So this is my answer. Okay, was it negligence? It is clear that a duty of care is owed to a person attending a sporting event at a large stadium. I haven't gone into any details about the extra things there about proximity, because it's pretty clear that duty of care exists. So I've then gone to the second part. The most important question was there a breach of the duty of care? Two key elements support a breach. Firstly, it is reasonably foreseeable, I've used that language, reasonably foreseeable that spills might cause slippery surfaces at a stadium. And that makes sense. That's justifying that. And secondly, it is possible that precautions could be taken by having cleaning staff checking the stadium during the game, or even putting signs out where there is a spill. Let's duck back and have a look at the duty of care. We didn't say too much there. The duty of care, we could always mention Donoghue and Stevenson. You've got that in exam. Right. Here we've looked at the breach, and I've particularly focused on the probability that harm could occur, right, that there's a risk, and the practicality of taking precautions. It's pretty easy to. So I've used that theory in my answer without going in anything. A really strong answer would probably include a reference to the Act there and possibly a case to establish that there's been a breach. Okay. Secondly, so precautions could be taken. So it's reasonably easy to take precautions. The last element is damages. Have damages been caused? And whether these were caused but for the wet surface. So if we go back to the theory, when we talk about damage, it talks about the but for test. Did the harm occur but for the defendant? So I've said that for someone to have slipped, there has to be a slippery surface involved. And so therefore it's reasonable to think that the wet and slippery surface contributed to the fall. So I've said that I think there is negligence involved there. The next step is to say, okay, a partial defence to negligence is contributory negligence. Don has contributed through two acts. First, he's been drinking heavily, and secondly, he is jumping rather than walking down the stairs. It's reasonable to think that this contributed 50% towards his accident, as was similarly assessed in the Bennett v Manly Council and Sydney Water case, where the plaintiff, so that's the person bringing the complaint, was behaving irresponsibly, which contributed to the damages. So I've put it at 50%. I happen to look at Wes's work. I think Wes had 60%. Okay, I think it's in that ballpark. But if you've got something else and you've explained why, then that's fine. But I think it was important in this case to consider contributory negligence. Now, I've actually used the Act here. So when I'm marking work, I get very excited when people use the Act. There are three different types of damages to consider as set out in Section 52 of the Civil Liabilities Act, as opposed to the Act D. Not my best work. The first of these are general damages from pain and suffering and loss of amenity, loss of things that we enjoy. These are assessed on a 100-point scale, with 100 being the most significant loss of function. I said he would be assessed at around a level of 30 on the scale. He's lost the ability to participate in some enjoyable activities and some permanent loss of movement. People will think different things there. Do think that 100 is basically, the maximum. There's no quality of life there, and 1 is a very minor thing. I'll put it more towards the minor end, but you could argue where you want. So given that there is a maximum limit of $250,000, I've said this equates to $75,000. Okay, special damages, the specific cost, the cost of hospitalisation, $33,256. And lastly is 6 months of income lost. His income is above the cap of 3 times the average income. That's the maximum. I should probably put that in here. So the maximum, the average income at the moment is $80,000. So 3 times that is $240,000. So if you lose 6 months' income, the maximum you can be paid there is $120,000. So that was nice for people to consider that there's the maximum there. So adding them up, total damages, 228, 256. However, 50% contributory negligence, leaving a total of and I've said about because I don't know exactly what the decisions would be, but a total of 114,128 to be paid by the defendant to the plaintiff. And that's my justification for that. What do people think?